Thanks. Good morning, and thanks to Catherine for sorting out the title thing. It was a very hot summer, and I think hence the title, but I was cooled in the Atlantic Ocean in Cornwall, which helped quite a lot, and thought this title, Making Open Pay, calls for an open mind, somewhat in a better way, sort of signaled what I intended to talk about. And also thank you to Catherine for inviting me, and I think it's a challenging proposition to talk about how open, or making open pay. I'm aware that I come from a slightly different angle than most of you, since I used to be a scholarly publisher, but now I am in an IGO situation, so I'm an IGO publisher with other aims probably than most of you. However, I'm still focused on how to make value, and in this presentation I'll share with you an example, in an overview, an example of how open access has created value to the publishing unit that I come from, and really how an open mind has created value. I think this links very well on top of the two previous speakers, and not least the panel before us. So perhaps I should begin, I thought, by telling you a little bit about who is actually the Nordic Council of Ministers, because you might not have heard about it before. So the Nordic countries, Iceland, Denmark, Norway, Sweden and Finland, together with Greenland, Faroe Islands and Åland, they are in a regional collaboration. We are 25 million people only, but together we actually form the 10th largest economy. However, we are not in a union. We are separate nations still, and have been for many, many years in different constellations. But since 1952, we have had this formal cooperation, which is, I guess, one of the oldest regional collaborations in the world. And we have approximately 500 employees spread all over the Nordic countries, of which some I'm employed in the Secretariat in Copenhagen, where I'm based. And in the Secretariat, we have a publishing unit. We're not many people, but we publish around 100 book-type reports every year, plus some statistical information and other political documents. We work in a way where we have clients which are normally situated around in the council, who they commission authors, researchers to do research, which we then publish. And our financing model really is that we have to generate income. We are the only unit in the whole collaboration which has to generate income. And we do this in a combined business model where the largest part comes from upfront sort of invoicing for services that we provide. We do sell also, but this is declining really. So we are very dependent on doing a good service and the right service for our clients. Otherwise, we'll probably vanish, I'm afraid. So that's why when we think strategically about what we're doing, we really need to focus in on where are the needs, or even be ahead of the needs that our clients are having. And when I got on board in 2011, I was sort of employed with the mission to somehow digitize what we were doing, because we didn't do much in terms of digital distribution. So I thought, well, we need some kind of digital strategy, and this model I in fact borrowed from Roger Martin, who's former Dean of Rodman School of Management in Toronto. It's a 5-step easy solution to build a strong strategy, he says, and I quite agree. 5 questions. What is your winning aspiration? Where will we play? How will we win? what capabilities must we have, and what management systems are needed. And so, if you can answer to all these, you have a good strategy. And this is, that's sort of our point of departure. And I was trying to find out when I began, what is our winning aspiration, really? I know that we have to be doing a good service in order to survive, but we also need to know what is the winning aspiration. So it wasn't explicitly told to me, but I quite clearly found out that visibility and impact. Obviously there are more, but I'm trying to do this as simple as possible, just to give the principle. So visibility and impact. Where will we play? Well, we had a research survey made, and it showed that our major target groups are researchers and politicians / the government officials. How will we win? Well, digital distribution, straight ahead. I thought, because I knew about this from my past, that we had, when I came aboard, we had really no kind of digital distribution, and this would be our way of winning. And then we had to find new ways in which to create new formats, new channels, production tools, and so on. And I also knew who we could contact in order to manage this whole process. And I was just about signing contracts with private companies when I thought, hey, stop, wait a minute. There's something wrong, because I didn't exactly get the feedback from my senior management, from my clients that I had expected, saying, wow, this is fantastic, you're in the right direction. And that was obviously a problem. They didn't think it was really bad, but I seemed somehow not to fulfill their needs. So I tried to look again at this. And if you see the model, there are arrows below indicating that you have to think back. If something is not working, you have to reiterate. And I went back and I thought, well, what am I doing wrong here? And I actually had to go all the way back up to the arena where we are playing. And what I had been doing was just copying my past experience, saying, well, I know about research communication and I know about digital distribution to libraries and so on. I know less about the other part, but I know about research. So I had that focus, and it came quite clear to me, which is, it seems to be a banal conclusion afterwards, that I had really overlooked a major new target group of politicians and government officials. What are they asking for? And that's just a bit like the panel before. New researchers, what are they actually asking for? What are your major, your most important target groups really asking for? And you have to zoom in on them, and I did. And it came quite clear that, well, politicians, they are very concerned about ensuring impact of public spent money. And this is achieved through public access. There were explicit needs for flexible access. We've been talking about that DRM systems are not very flexible, and you often meet barriers. Accountability is a strong word, and there are many other things I could list here, and we are actually in a process of becoming more clever now on this target group. But it all equals open access. And I thought, well, okay, I know about open access too. So let's go back to the how we will win. And digital distribution it's good, but we have to zoom in here and say, well, we also need to work on open access in order to fulfill these needs. And we did this kind of massively by introducing an open access project. And we, while doing this, we did not only work with what we do in the Secretariat. We have many institutions, they also publish. So we said, well, why not go together and do something more comprehensive, collaborative, and modernizing the organization. This also fits very well with our new Secretary General's mission on modernizing and rationalizing. So we are building a repository now and formulating a policy on open access. And this is and has created a lot of value for us. So it's become very clear to me that going down this alley, which wasn't that hard really, but it was just about actually focusing and listening to our target groups, made it very clear that that open access was a key in many ways for us to create value. And value in the sense that what we're doing is the right service for our audience and for our clients. And if we're not having this combination, we're not solving that problem we're here to really solve. And that's absolutely basic. But I think even though many of you are having other target groups and working from a different point of view, it's still the same kind of basic thinking that you have to understand your new audiences, young researchers, for instance, and you can't come with only with your experience and with your old answers to new questions. And I've been much inspired by this guy, Otto Scharmer. He's an MIT professor, and he developed this theory U, which is based on a lot of interviews with CEOs and others, because his point is that we do that the whole time. We do bring the past in when we are confronted with new questions, and it's very often it doesn't work. So some fast conclusions. I'm aware that there should be time for questions also and discussion. I think that's really what we should leave time to, because that would be interesting to get some feedback from you. And I am aware also that it's a golf tournament and it's late. And but there are really, I mean, just to sort of recap, I think openness is a very necessary thing when you are confronted or when you feel that you have a problem. You need to confront your problem in an open way, otherwise you'll just really not solve the problem. And it's all about really trying to find out what the problem is and then be open to how to solve this problem. And therefore, as I said, as I did myself, really, I was copying my previous behavior in a new situation. It doesn't work. I was revisiting my arenas and zoomed in on my target audiences, and then I'm in a process actually of listening and then identifying new needs. Finally, you can act and make new solutions. And I think what Francis and what Pierre has just shown are really innovative solutions to some of the problems that we are or you are faced with. But best practice is not really always the best solution, because each of you have different situations, you're working in different contexts, you have different target audiences. So you need this reflection really before acting. And finally, well, open did pay in my case, and I think it can pay in most cases. It's just about finding the right angle to it. And yeah, those were the words. Thank you.
Thank you. So after these words of wisdom and encouragement, are there any questions for our speakers? Yes.
Thanks, Niels. You said at the end that it pays. I didn't see where the revenue was coming from.
Good point. It's not on a one-to-one scale. I would say, as I said in the beginning, what pays us is delivering a good service, it's making ourselves valuable to our clients. If we don't do that, they'll probably look somewhere else. So since our major revenue is coming upfront, I mean, we charge for our service, then we are completely dependent on delivering a good service. If we don't deliver a good service, why should they use our service? So we won't make extra revenues like in the open edition model. We haven't been, it's not the way we calculate it, the freemium model. But our focus is on delivering the right service to our clients. And thereby we can charge the appropriate amount of money we need to develop our services, to make them better. But if we don't deliver the right service, nobody would like to buy it. So that's where the money comes in.
I think it's very interesting that you're saying, and also the notion of the client, which is a shifting notion in a way, a changing notion from the reader or the buyer traditionally is the client, and you are talking about the client as being the funder who's actually funding the open access model, which is quite interesting, I think. We've got a question here. Sorry. Over there.
Hi, this is a question for Niels. I'm from Oxfam, which is a confederation of 17 organisations that each speak its own language. I think the answer to the question about where does it pay, it pays because you're building an organisational asset that will deliver, as you say, deliver the service that will mean people will come to you and continue to use you and continue to feed you with content, because without the content with which funding comes, you won't be able to operate. I was interested at the process where you were going back and talking to the partners, the governments, I assume, that actually they are customers, they are readers, they're part of your customer research. And that must have been quite a change for you, because normally your customers are the people out there rather than the people behind you. How did you get to that stage in thinking, and what did you then, how did you respond to the research that you were doing with those customers behind you as opposed to customers out front of you?
It's a good question, because that was actually what came apparent to me. Because in the beginning, I was a little, I need some English vocabulary here. Danish speaking.
Say it in Danish.
Well, annoyed is a too strong word, something less strong than annoyed. I was irritated? No, not even. But people kept talking about, it's all about concern. Everybody's talking about, it's all about politics. And I said, well, yeah. But for me, it's all about publishing, and it's all about getting it out there to the readers, and impact is among the readers. And so I did hear what they were saying, but it didn't really fit into my model. And then at some point, I don't know, I don't recall a certain point, but it started becoming clear to me. I think actually, while sort of reflecting on why am I not really doing well, that what does it actually mean that it's all about politics? Well, it means in our organization that our clients or commissioners are really the ministers who set forth some vision, and then they have a whole set of government officials to think about how to implement this. And then we commission researchers to investigate on these issues, and then it has to be fed back into the political system in order to be the basis for political decisions. If we are not fulfilling that chain, we're not delivering the right service. And that's as simple as it is. And I think that's really the new thing, because we still have the researchers as a group that we want. We also have, and I don't know how much you've been talking about, I mean, private sector companies, small, medium-sized companies, they really can benefit from what we're doing as well on energy research, for instance, that we bring it out to them. But if we are not fulfilling that chain and feeding back in the right way to the politicians who don't have much time reading long books or reports, then we have to be very flexible to do that. And if we do that, then we'll be fine. But you're right; it's a new way of looking at it, and I'm not through that process. I'm in that process, and I could tell you more in detail about how we are doing it. But it's much about actually interviewing people and getting to know different cultures. Even in the Nordic countries, you may know there are some cultural differences between Finnish people and Danes, for instance. I know this is there are no Finns here, I guess. But we also, even in the Nordic countries, we have some cultural differences. So you have to go and actually open your ears and open your mind and try to be appreciative, I think it's called.
Thank you.
Hazel Newton, Palgrave Macmillan. So we've heard a lot today in all of the talks about OA being a journey, and often we're talking about journals when we talk about that journey. And I wondered whether the panel could reflect in terms of where we are on that OA journal in terms of books and what that journey might look like.
Wow.
Now, or it's the beginning of a reflection, Francis?
I knew you'd toss a tough ball. Okay, so we're really behind journals. And I'd say if the journal debate is now about 13 years old, the book debate is really under the radar and maybe 2 years old. And we're talking about a lot less money, and the journal world is very much bigger than the monograph world. And I talk about monographs, not books generally. So we're very much at the beginning of that road, but it won't take 13 years to get to where journals are now. You want me to wager a guess? I think for the UK, as you know, monographs are out of the ref for 2020, but as far as I know, there's still a commitment in HEFCE and RCUK to move that forward, but at a pace where the problems are sorted out before launching that HEFCE position or RCUK position. So we should benefit from the mistakes that were made along the road. But the key thing to be careful about is it's not a gold-green debate. It's something else, because the book stems from a different business model.
Thank you, Francis. Other questions? I had a question actually for Pierre. It was interesting to hear you say that we know now what the premium services are, but we don't know what they're going to be next year or in 2 years' time. Now, and they're going to have to evolve. Now, do you feel that the free services or the way you deliver the free is going to evolve equally? Meaning the...
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably, because it's probable also that services that are premium for the moment will be free in the future. So it's like a moving wall for services. It's the main model we are working on right now, having these premium services getting free 2 or 3 years after they were developed in the first place. But the main thing for us, the most important thing for us, is the relationship that we can build with the libraries. And we didn't talk enough, I think, about libraries, except Frances. But I want to stress the importance of libraries because to identify and to know what are the readers' needs exactly, the best person to know that is the librarian. So, you know, for 10 years, we began reviews.org, our journal platform, in 1999. So it's very old now. And for 10 years, we were only open access, no commercial model. And we didn't even think to work with librarians, because we thought we were just open access and it was enough. And when we began to develop this freemium model, of course we had to work. We were forced to work with the librarians, and that became very interesting because the librarians say things to us. And they say, okay, if you want us to buy your service, you must do that and that and that and that, because my readers, they say that and that to me. And that's very important, and we have incentive to respond to the reader's need. And for that, the quality of the relationship, of the dialogue with the librarians is primordial.
Essential.
Yeah.
Kevin, can I say something to that?
Of course.
Too. On the issue of the libraries, the knowledge unlatched model came out of thinking about who is paying for monographs now. Where is that money? And 90% of sales of monographs, these very expensive items, takes place libraries. The money is in the library budgets, and so the knowledge unlatched model is simply tapping into that budget and trying to find a way of using it more efficiently, more effectively, and to get to open access. But at the same time, what we've discovered with our research is that libraries, as you all know, are going through incredible transitions themselves, and all the pains that we feel, they're feeling them too, slightly differently, but they're transitioning as well. And I think the phrase that I really like that Caroline Brazier from the British Library introduced me to is that libraries are moving from collecting to connecting. So their raison d'etre is changing too. And so involving them in the OA debate is a natural thing.
Thank you.
Just a
Yes.
brief on libraries. I completely agree that it's a very important stakeholder group. We actually have a Nordic Open Access Forum, including a lot of librarians whom we discuss open access with. And now we are building this repository with a university library in Sweden. And I think it's crucial in terms of technology development that we also work with somebody. It could have been like your open edition, but that we outsource this. For the reason for doing it to libraries is because they're really on the edge of also technology when they deal with repositories, and they have a focus on distributing and connecting, as Francis says. So I really agree on that point.
Yes. Thank you very much. Are there any other questions or anything that anyone would like to share with the members of the panel before going to lunch? No, apparently lunch is the next step. So thank you very much, and a bit of applause for our three panelists.